Welcome back, America. We're here with a man I call America's wise man, Victor Davis Hanson. I don't bring on pollsters or political commentators. I bring on people who can help inform us about what the hell is going on in this country through a perspective of history or philosophy or economics. Victor Davis Hanson is the tip of the spear. He has a brand new book coming out Tuesday, The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation. And there's a lot of ancient history in here. For example, he talks about the destruction of Carthage, the fall of Constantinople, the Aztec Empire, and so forth and so on. Now, why is this important? Well, these empires were also supposed to last forever, and they didn't last forever. Well, what happened? And is it happening to us today? Victor Davis Hanson, it's always an honor and a pleasure to have you. This is a fantastic book. I learned more about ancient history than I could have imagined. The End of Everything. You can get this at Amazon.com, any major bookstore. So why did you write this book, and how do you tie it to the American Republic today?
Well, usually wars end, Mark, with a surrender or a humiliation or defeat, but every once in a while they end not just in slaughter, but the complete erasure of civilization, language, religion. And I was interested, when did this happen, these rare occurrences, could they happen again? And there was kind of a paradigm that the targeted people are very naive. They don't realize that they're not as preeminent as they thought they were. They have no appreciation for the type of people who are outside the walls that want to destroy them. They misinterpret the intent of the enemy, and a lot of that is contemporarily relevant, especially here in America. We think that we're still as preeminent as we were when we set up the post-war order, and we're very strong, but we're not continuing that supremacy, whether it's the borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days, or our Pentagon has been weaponized, politicized. We're not spending enough on defense, and the money we do spend is not well spent. We're torn apart at home. So our enemies abroad are sensing that, and our friends are very worried that they look to us. And unfortunately, in these examples I selected from history, everybody thought somebody would save them. The Byzantines thought the Venetians will sail up at the last moment. The Carthaginians said somebody will attack Rome from the rear. It doesn't happen. They're on their own, and they're not prepared, and they're very naive about the existential threat that confronts them. And I was worried there's a lot of parallels here in the present age as well.
One of the most effective things you do in this book is you explain these tremendous empires that existed before. And they don't exist anymore. They disappeared. You explain how that happens. You explain how it can happen in the United States of America. My question to you is this. You write about these things. You have a fantastic column. You come on TV. These things are swirling around your mind all the time. It must be enormously, enormously frustrating, as it is to me, to watch what is taking place in the United States today with this knowledge of these empires, with this knowledge of ancient history and modern history, and saying, stop, do you understand what you're doing to yourselves? Does this administration understand what it's doing to our country? Does that run through your mind?
It does, and unfortunately, it's sort of tragic because, Mark, all of these weaknesses and challenges were apparent, but they were neglected or they were ignored until the 11th hour, and then people woke up and said, wow, there's Alexander the Great outside our walls, or wow, Hernan Cortez wants to destroy us, and it's too late. And when I was writing the epilogue, and especially since the book was written, when I look at our elite universities, Mark, I mean, they're medieval. These students are arrogant, they're not well trained, they don't know the basics of analysis, language, composition, computation, and yet they're very arrogant, and they're descending into a medieval anti-Semitism that we thought disappeared from the modern West, but it's back in a way that we haven't seen in a century, or maybe even further, and nobody's saying anything about it. And there's one good thing about the clarity. We don't have enemies outside the walls yet, but we dispelled a lot of myths the last month, Mark. One of them is being pro-Palestinian is equivalent to being pro-Hamas. They used to say there's no difference. And everybody said if you were anti-Israel, that didn't mean you're anti-Semitic. There's no difference. We know that now. They hate Jews, they hate Israel. It's the same. Everybody said the Democratic base is left-wing and there's a moderate. No, there's one Democratic Party. It's been taken over by the left. Everybody said Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, there are preeminent elite institutions. These are the cream of the cream. No, they're not. They're not. They're not.
It's a fantastic book, The End of Everything, Amazon.com. You can order it now. It'll show up at your doorstep Tuesday morning. We'll be right back.